Hey guys, Pawnce here, and I was just at a League of Legends World Finals viewing party thing with some guys I know and had a whole crap ton of beers. So what better time than now to make detailed predictions as to what's going to happen in the games to come. So yeah, like I was saying, as the title would indicate, we just hit the best of 8 at this point, or rather, oh yeah, best of 8. Um, and so yeah, why don't we just kind of talk about what I think is going to happen? So why don't we start at the bottom here? So we have Royal Club versus OMG. That's probably the one that I really don't understand what's going to happen to it at all. As far as like if I recall correctly, Royal Club in their own Chinese scene beat the crap out of ONG, so I guess it's a safe assumption to assume Royal Club is going to win again. But overall, just kind of it seems like just from what happened to OMG today, SK Telecom sort of got their shit together as the tournament went along, and they really look like they're pretty solid now. And they were kind of shaky when they started, but seem to have gotten their legs under them in the world. So I'm just going to assume that SK Telecom is going to come through on this sort of bottom bracket here that you guys see. So they're going to probably end up in the finals. At least according to my prediction, they're going to end up in the finals from all these four teams here. Royal Club could upset them because I don't know anything about them, but I'm just going to put my money on SK Telecom. It's actually the top bracket, up two brackets here that interest me a lot more. From what I kind of understand and been told about the Korean scene, Najin Black Sword is sort of like a crappier SK Telecom, and Gambit Gaming has been. I don't know. I've been pretty impressed with what they've been doing. It's sort of like a lot of sort of the banter going on around about the international World of Warcraft, not World of Warcraft. Sorry, I've been having a few beers if I've mentioned that. But the League of Legends scene is sort of talking about sort of Korean dominance and how they're going to stop the shit out of everyone. But sort of my take on the whole situation was sort of the Korean teams. What they really sort of make me think of is a really, really good AI. Like they have excellent set plays, and basically everything they've done is to sort of practice and memorization and sort of rote like memorization. Like they're really good so long as they're in their comfort zone, and the thing is, their comfort zone is extremely expansive. They kind of, if you can call this weakness, just because they're so good at everything. But the weakness seems to be that when you get outside of that comfort zone and sort of shit hits the fan. It's sort of like exploiting, you're playing a fighting game or something. You notice that in fighting games, AI just has this one thing that it can't deal with, and it can't sort of adapt to on the fly. Because when you think about sort of the Korean scene, its strength, as far as I can tell, has been based off of an extremely strong infrastructure behind them, and all the money that's been poured into sort of a professional gaming scene years and years before even League of Legends showed up. Because as you guys I'm sure know, Korea has had a very strong professional gaming scene in what's that thing called StarCraft. So this is not a new thing for them, but it's really hard to prepare people for adapting on the fly. Like that's not really something you can spend too much money on and get better at. So when you reduce people down to those base elements and sort of, it's just a guy versus another guy, adaptability is not something, that is trained too easily. And that kind of seems like something that sort of the North American and European scenes have excelled at, or maybe not even excelled at, but at least is on an even footing with sort of the Korean and I suppose to an extent the Asian scene. I don't really know too much about the Chinese one, so I'm assuming it seems like they're pretty solid and very similar to the Koreans in those sort of senses, in that sort of sense. Um, so yeah, it kind of seems like when you get sort of the nitty gritty kind of chaotic, no one really knows what's going on. That's when NA in Europe really seems to stand a chance. And in that sense, Gambit has that kind of we can deal with chaotic situations and mechanically and sort of set plays and sort of thinking about the game. They're probably pretty close to the Asian scenes, at least in terms of any of the European and North American teams. In that sense, compared to those, they're quite close in that regards, at least as far as I can tell, barring perhaps Fnatic, which we'll talk about in a second. So I'm going to put my money in terms of this Najin Black Sword and Gambit the BenQ. I'm going to say BenQ's going to win this one. That's just what I'm going to say. The one game out of this whole set here that I'm interested in, I really actually don't know what's going to happen, is Fnatic versus Cloud9. Now, in terms of these two teams, um, yeah, no, Fnatic's really impressed me what they've done. I've always known they're really good. If you think way back, basically, I don't remember when this was. This was probably about a year ago or more. But when Fnatic sort of reemerged as the new Fnatic, not the season one Fnatic that did well and disappeared for a while. When they came back, they were suddenly kind of out of nowhere. I believe they beat several Korean teams at international events just sort of out of nowhere, and people were sort of like, "Holy shit, Fnatic's good," kind of thing. And they've sort of maintained that ever since. And they're up against Cloud9, who I have never seen play on an international stage. They may have. I don't think they have ever. Um, if I had to, I'm going to guess Fnatic is going to win this one because I'm sort of on board with Saint Vicious's analysis of Cloud9. Well, he was basically saying they did so well in the North American scene and came out first place because, well, he didn't call them mechanically better, but if you read between the lines, he was basically saying they win early and they sort of win on a sort of a mechanical level and just versus all other NA teams. They're doing so well on a basic League of Legends, we know how to play the game kind of sense. That's why they were able to do so well in the North American scene. However, they're sort of really untested in terms of sort of a faster pace that sort of the international scene can throw against them. If they get thrown for a loop, who knows if they can actually respond to that kind of thing. If one of the Chinese teams is up against them and does, a three-man dive at the 2-minute mark or whatever, do they know how to deal with that? So yeah, I don't know. I think North America's chances at this stage are pretty grim, which I thought was actually, this was my initial assessment, way back when they were first, with determining what teams were, and people were talking about, oh, Europe sucks. Europe is, the crap region, and North America probably has a better chance than them. I didn't think that at all. I don't know why people were saying that, because Fnatic and Gambit are just very good. But yeah, so that's why I'm gonna say if Fnatic can win out this Cloud9 match, then they'll probably make it to the finals because they've just kind of generally always beat Gambit. If Cloud9 wins this, then I don't really know what happens. The only solid prediction I'm going to say is probably SK Telecom makes it to the finals, and then probably Fnatic makes it to the finals, and from there, I don't know. It's hard to say. Just sort of the numbers, gambling. If I wanted to make money, the side of me was it a bet on something for some reason. I would want to go SK Telecom, but sort of a weird gut instinct is telling me Fnatic might win that out. So that's a really hard match. In any case, I think how this worked out in the random drawings, this is almost perfect. Like, this is a really good setup, and I think it's going to make for a really competitive best of 8. This looks really cool to me. I have no stake in this. I don't really care who wins. These are all very good teams. The only team I've actually never seen is Gamania Bears. It just took me a second to even realize what their name was because I've never seen them before. But other than that, I've seen the other teams at least once. Even Royal Club, I think I said I've never really seen them, but I've probably seen one of their old games. But yeah, that's really all I have to say on the matter. Look forward to watching this stuff in the weeks to come. So hopefully you guys do as well, and see you guys around. This has been Pawnce. Goodbye.